Good afternoon and welcome to Match of the Day for two First Division matches in which three of the teams involved, thanks to 3 points for a win, still have a chance of qualifying for Europe. Later we shall see two of them, Nottingham Forest against Spurs. But we start with the topsy-turvy world of Brighton, FA Cup semi-finalists, yet relegation candidates, who play Everton. And the dramatic final minutes force referee Clive Thomas to stand up and be counted once again. Although the whimsical smile indicates some disappointment with that half volley. Well, a worthwhile hour coming up then, but first let's catch up with the news from David Icke.
Well, serious injury problems for Sheffield Wednesday and Arsenal as they approach next Saturday's FA Cup semi-finals. And there's apparently some concern about the future of the West Bromwich Albion fullback Brendan Batson, who's been out of football for 6 months with a knee injury. We'll also have action from the top of the Second Division in England and the top of the Premier Division in Scotland.
So we start the action in the summer sunshine by the sea in a season for Brighton and Hove Albion that's not been without its cloudy moments. Their opponents, Everton, have had their good spells and still chase a coveted European place. Your commentator is Barry Davis, who as always is fast with the facts and the figures.
The penalty spots at the Goldstone Ground are much like any other penalty spots around the country. The only difference is that these have become redundant. There hasn't been a penalty on this ground since April the 3rd of last year. Indeed, Brighton haven't had a penalty anywhere for 51 matches. But all things are possible these days for the Seagulls, going well in the league in spite of their current position and, of course, in the FA Cup. And a clear chance this afternoon for number 8, Jerry Ryan, to make the number 8 shirt his for next week's FA Cup semi-final at Highbury. One late change in the Everton lineup. Manager Howard Kendall has left out Steve McMahon. Kevin Richardson, who was at fullback on Monday, moves back to midfield as Gary Stevens is now fit. And for the record, Everton have had just 2 penalties this season. And the referee this afternoon is the experienced FIFA referee, the Welshman Clive Thomas. Everton this afternoon in a change strip, which is all white, and they are attacking the goal to our left. Team in mid-table. Kendall, their manager, saying their season was disappointing, but I think he feels that there are possibilities on this side. A lot has been learnt during the course of this season. And we've seen enough of this fellow, Jim Arnold, particularly in the recent match at Anfield in the Liverpool derby. Here's Heath. Gary Stevens. Heath again. Jimmy Case. Tony Grealish. Neil Smiley on the right. Covered by Kevin Ratcliffe, who's formed a new partnership in the centre of the defence with the new skipper now, Mark Higgins. Higgins, Grealish, Smiley pulling wide and square. Grealish making a diagonal run, Ramsey offering himself again. Robinson wants a long cross to the far post, it's come shorter. It's Gary Stevens, Foster. Robinson gets applause, but maybe he was a little bit lucky, didn't get a nick away. Foul by Bailey. Foster coming in on the far side and may well get to it, and does. And Higgins might wonder why. He looked more at the referee than at Foster, presumably feeling he was pushed, but Foster made it his, and off the headband it went and over the crossbar. So one skipper beating the other skipper in the air. Foster again having luck on his side. Bailey. Grealish. Case is square. Ryan. Hasn't shown the best of control so far. We've got a knock then. Heath. Johnson. Sharp is on the far post. And Stevens and Johnson seemingly hold hands, and Stephen has the final say. It's an unfortunate knock for Ryan. Back of the thigh, it seems. Foster. Half-hearted appeal for handball, and Ryan trying to lose the knock, or lose the pain of the knock. And that's up on the roof from Gatting. Down it comes, and Brighton make their substitution. Graham Pearce comes on in place of the injured Jerry Ryan. Smith. Well won by Steve Gatting, who's now moved into midfield with Pearce playing in his usual place, a fullback. Bailey. First test for him. Stevens, Foster, Bailey. Foster with a shake of the head. And Ramsey losing out to Sheedy. 2 turns, 3 turns. Richardson. One of those might-have-beens. But some very sharp turning by Kevin Sheedy. And he laid the ball nicely for Kevin Richardson. Smith. Pearce making a good run, but pass covered and cut out by Inscoe. Nice touch by Johnson. Here's Sharp. It's Heath who's gone to his right. Sharp in the middle. 3 more arriving. Chance for Stevens. Good save, he can get up. Ainscough looked like handball by Stevens. Certainly the Everton players were appealing for handball, but a penalty has not been given. And here's Jimmy Case. Case again. Robinson. Case. Looking for Grealish. It's too long, I think, yes. Perhaps a bit of an escape for Graham Mosley. He did well to get there in the first place and got up. But it looked to me as though the ball in front of him was blocked by Gary Stevens' hand. Heath. Foster. And Ramsey in terrible trouble. He went to play the ball back to a goalkeeper who had left home anyway, and the ball going off Kevin Sheedy for the first goal of the afternoon. Comparison of dejection and almost embarrassed disbelief on the face of the scorer. There'll be a few more curious goals scored this season than that one. And you just wonder, Jimmy Meader is feeling now, because really his right back has been, I think, greatly affected by the fact that he will not play in next week's semi-final because he was sent off last Saturday. His whole performance has been way below the standards of earlier games this season. Higgins forced to concede the corner. Goalkeeper who stayed at home at that end. Not that any blame could be attached to Graham Mosley for the goal. I'm afraid it was totally down to Ramsey. Long for Foster. Stevens, Foster, Gatting, and the goalkeeper kicked it away with his right foot. But Everton seemingly unable to control Steve Foster in their own 6-yard area, and a little wider. How long will Everton's rule continue? Robinson rather, and straight into the waiting hands of Jim Arnold. And the last action of the first half with the referee making a rugby-like move, but it was an extraordinary moment that only Chris Ramsey perhaps will understand, if even he, which produced the only goal of the first half when he went to pass the ball back quite needlessly, and it ricocheted off Kevin Sheedy for a goal of embarrassment, but one which divides the teams at half-time. Brighton have to repeat their performance of 7 days ago on this ground when they came back from a goal behind against Tottenham. Only 6 more games to play after this match. And their survival in the First Division at the end of 4 years seriously threatened. In that time they finished 16th, 19th and 13th. With those games to go, started today's match in 20th place with 35 points. Robinson, a foot in by Higgins. And the first time that Jim Arnold's been made to stretch at all, as far as I can remember. And it came from his own player. Certainly Brighton are now in the game, and they haven't been so previously. Stevens. Good reach by Sharp, that one. A chance of a breakout by Everton. What a good ball by Ainscote to David Johnson. Far side is Heath and Sheedy. And it's Sheedy. Good save by Mosley. He was given the opportunity, and the linesman's flag was up for offside anyway. It was a marvellous ball out by Alan Ainscote to David Johnson in the first place. And the afternoon, in every sense, beginning to warm up. Everton certainly getting numbers behind the ball. Pearce. Foster wants the long ball down the middle, and if he's playing there, that would seem to me to make sense. And ball by Ainscote. Ainscote suggesting the ball came up. It appeals for a penalty. Foster certainly felt that he was held down. Mr. Thomas, who had a good view of it, thought otherwise. 15 minutes left. Brighton on the wrong end of a 1-0 score. And with just 2 more home matches in desperate need of changing the picture in this last quarter of an hour. Away fixtures too include games at Norwich and at Birmingham. And here's Sharp. And Richardson somehow blocked by Pearce when it looked as though Everton must score. Well, they're living dangerously, and they're still alive, the home side, and the crowd have responded to their attitude. Ainscote concedes the corner. a decent corner this time. And it's all cup-tie stuff. Put it on my head, he seems to be saying. But he won so much at the start of the match, and now he's playing as a forward, has seen so little of the ball. Stevens. Oh, and turned over the top by Smith. Wouldn't have gone in, or at least the goalkeeper would surely have got there. But the extra header from Smith curling the ball over the crossbar. Robinson on. Smith, who's got a lot to do now. Pearce to help out. Stevens as well. Grealish. Did he intend that? If he did, it was very good. Case. Stevens. Surely a shot in the air was from Grealish. And again there are appeals for a penalty. I think Grealish thought he was pushed from behind. Stevens, who let it go, allowing Grealish to make the shot. And Arnold able to grab it. There's a great deal of hap and pap. Everton's house still standing. Here's Foster. I must say it's making for stirring stuff. It's not what you would call top quality, but it has its fascination. Everton's last away victory was by curiosity at Norwich. The end of January. Here's Robinson. Norwich, one of those down among the dead men, but looking good. Even so, here's Foster. Stevens must be no. That man Arnold again. For so long, Jim Arnold had nothing to do. And now, without having to make flying saves, he's the man standing between Brighton and the desperately search for equaliser. Getting. And Brighton are down to the last 5 minutes. Foster. Bailey. It goes backwards for Everton as often as it goes forwards. Sharp. Ratcliffe, offside against Sheedy, whose goal could yet condemn Brighton to the return to the second division. The ball rolls a little kindly forward. Mr. Thomas is happy about its position. Robinson. Sharply in was Everton. Stevens. Case. Pearce. Smith. Robinson. Foster. Penalty has been given. Higgins' challenge on Foster, who in all conscience was looking for it. And the hope of such an award. Complaints from the Everton defenders. But a penalty has finally been given here at the Goldstone ground. And the opportunity falls to Gordon Smith to save Brighton on this day at least. Smith against Arnold, who with the help of a post saves it. The penalty will be taken again. The goalkeeper moved. Well, we haven't had one here for over a year, and now we have two. Wouldn't you believe it? And a booking for Bailey. Follows, I think, an earlier booking for Higgins. And the referee would also like words with Graham Sharp. Well, there's more conversation than football at the moment, and we wait for penalty number 2. The same participants will take part in the competition. Would he place it the same way, Gordon Smith? Yes, he does, and truly so! There is hope yet. Two minutes left, and Brighton are level. And scenes worthy of a championship win. And hang on a minute, it's another booking. But the flag's waving. You'd have thought a great deal has been won. But an end of a long run has come from the award of a penalty by Clive Thomas, the referee. Once it was saved, it was to be taken again because the referee said the goalkeeper moved. And Brighton now pray for a miracle of a second goal. Well, I suppose it should be said that fortune has favoured the brave because they gambled all. And here's Smiley. Stevens and Foster. Michael Robinson and Higgins. And Jim Arnold. We're into the last minute. On by Sharp. Foster didn't know he had it. Gary Stevens. Offside against Sharp. Everybody moves forward except Mosley. Howard Kendall looks very pensive. And one doesn't have to be too clever to guess his feelings on the matter. Bailey. His side have certainly been penned back in the second half. Free kick against David Johnson, who is, I believe, among the number booked. But it would be very difficult to be accurate about that because the book was being shown to a number of white-shirted players. And there'll be a bit of time for Mr. Thomas to add on, I'm sure. The whistle has gone, the goal will not count. There was a push. Way outside the area. They're onside, and here's Heath, Mosley back, parries with his right knee. And offside, no! Sheedy has done it for the second time, Kevin Sheedy. And they're stunned on the Brighton bench. Mosley denying Heath, and then Sheedy, as the defenders move forward, suddenly Howard Kendall finds that his side are back in front. Hold on to it this time, it's the end. Seemed to be the message from Howard Kendall. And what an extraordinary end. From huge disappointment came high drama, and from high drama came what perhaps for Brighton will be total anticlimax. Having fought so hard to get back, in the end they're denied by Kevin Sheedy's second goal. And Everton go away with a 2-1 win. Nobody say a word, says the manager Howard Kendall. And Mr. Thomas walks off, going backwards. Smiles from Howard Kendall, but these are worrying moments for him. But his side has ended with the victory, and it's the other manager, Jimmy Melia, who will have to bite his nails to the end of the season, whatever happens in the FA Cup semi-final next Saturday. The final score, Brighton 1, Everton 2.
Well, biting nails is perhaps better than Jim tearing his hair out. But what a managerial baptism he's had. Let's hear his reaction to that game alongside Everton manager Howard Kendall.
Howard, I've got good reason to believe that you knew before this match started that there hadn't been a penalty on this ground since April of last year.
Barry, you told me about it.
Well, I'll apologise to you because we haven't got that interview with Howard Kendall and Jimmy Melia, but hopefully we're going to have it for you in a moment. Quite a contrast, really, in their styles yesterday. One happy, the other sad, but let's view that now.
Howard, I've got good reason to believe that you knew before this match started that there hadn't been a penalty on this ground since April of last year.
Barry, you told me about it. I mean, we talked before the match and we thought, well, Clive Thomas is the referee today. They haven't had a penalty here for a long time. What are the possibilities of one today? And you've seen one. We've seen two.
What was your reaction to the original verdict?
I thought he could have given it. I thought that Mark Higgins stepped in. I don't know which Brighton player it was, but he stepped in his way. I thought it was a little bit harsh, looking at it from where I was. But he elected to give a penalty.
And on the retake, did you know what the reason was for the retake?
I think the linesman signalled, actually, that the keeper had moved. But it was a tremendous save. A little bit unfortunate, so near the end. We've had enough chances today, really, to kill them off, and he won one a minute to go, or less than a minute to go. But we battled back and we got the winner.
What was your feeling there at 1-1?
At 1-1, we thrown it away, without a doubt. I mean, we've had chances today to kill them off. It's the same old story, really, because we're playing well, I believe, and we're creating chances, but we're not putting them away. I mean, if I can be critical, I mean, it's the goal return from our two strikers in terms of games played. That is the disappointing aspect of the season up to now.
But it was going to be Kevin Sheedy's day, wasn't it?
It normally is. He's a good player, and he's waiting with 11 goals now. If he claims the first one, I don't know whether or not he got a toe to it. But he's 11 goals now from left side of midfield. Tremendous footballer, and the goals are a bonus.
Sheedy has done it for the second time, Kevin Sheedy. And they're stunned on the Brighton bench.
This is what happens when you're down at the bottom, doesn't it? You don't get that little bit of luck that you want. Everton didn't need the result today, but they get it, and good luck to them, you know. Football's a game, it's on the day. Some people have the luck, and last week we had the luck against Tottenham. We got the result. Today, Everton had the luck, so that's how it goes.
Next week?
Well, I hope the gods are with us, and I'm sure that we'll have a go and we'll attack, and I'm sure we can't miss as many chances as we missed today.
It's a great game, this, isn't it? Oh, dear me. We're going to have a good trip back, and we're going to think about it. But, I mean, there was no need for the last couple of minutes. I mean, we'd finished the game off. We should have finished the game off. But I'm delighted. We're still in the group. We have a chance of qualifying for Europe. I believe so. With 4 home matches and 2 away matches left. So I think we've got a slight advantage on the rest of the group.
Bit of sympathy for Brighton?
No. No, I stood here with Ron Atkinson, I remember, a few weeks ago, and he said, well, do you feel sorry for Everton when we lost in the last minute of a quarter-final? And he said, no. I wish Brighton all the best next week, but I've got a little sneaky for Mick Lyons walking out at Wembley, and I'd love him to do that.
Yeah, a few Everton players will go along with that.
Yes.
Howard, thanks very much.
Pleasure.
Well, who says there's no sentiment in football? Indeed, I found myself feeling sorry for Brighton yesterday, and in the relegation zone nerves jangle, and it showed in their finishing, but the problems all such clubs face was demonstrated clearly by one spectator's shout of frustration. And in calm moments, most of us would agree, even preach that the ball should not be crossed aimlessly into a crowded penalty area. Even the England team have been pilloried on that score. But in the excitement, isn't that what British crowds really want, especially under pressure? Look at this move of Brighton up the right flank. 2 passes there, pumped forward nicely to the spare man, but you can see the Everton defence is far from beaten. It'll take a little more work yet. So the ball comes back again. There is a spare man there for a moment, and it's at this point that the spectator got really frustrated. He wanted the big boot into the goal mouth and screamed out for it. And it's coming up now, the frustration of one man in the Brighton crowd. Come on, get it over, he said, but they didn't do that. They kept their patience. A good ball forward into the box, but even the final attempt is blocked, and maybe the spectator was right in the first place. I'll leave you to judge on that one. Well, the conundrum, to clout it or be patient. And Brighton proved later that they have the class to take their time, but having done everything right, too much care rather than too little over the shot denied them the dividend they might have deserved. At the end of this movement, touch of Liverpool about it here, and Jimmy Case, of course, Jimmy Melia was a fine midfield player for that club, and we can see the style of passing, 5 or 6 man move, it's nodded down there, and it's Gordon Smith who picks it up now. He's going for the space on the left-hand side, but in the end, he has to work very hard to hold on to it and gets himself into what really might be called a dead position. But Brighton, like Liverpool, can get themselves out of this position, as you'll see. And it's Stevens who comes up and supports and initiates the surge for the space in the middle. There he is. He comes into it later, the ball goes across. Grealish is the one who does the dummy to take that white shirt out of the way and leave the shot for Case. But Grealish also runs off into the area. The shot's blocked, but both Grealish and Stevens have done well to get on the end of it. There's Stevens with the chest trap. He says, go on, it's yours. But Grealish tries to make sure, side foots it, and it's easily saved, and the difference between the top of the league and the bottom. Well, finally, I don't think Ramsey should take all the blame for Everton's first goal. It arose because of the ridiculous lengths to which most goalkeepers seem to go these days in order to defeat the equally ridiculous 4-step rule and gain a few yards before kicking. Well, our second match is a straightforward European qualifying contest between two teams, Nottingham Forest and Tottenham, who, for one reason or another, have not lived up to their own standards. But a last-minute surge into Europe could put it all right for either of them. Your commentator is John Watson.
Captain Ian Bowyer has a particular reason for hoping Forest qualify for next season's UEFA Cup. He has winners' medals in the 2 other European competitions, the Champions' Cup twice with Forest and the Cup Winners' Cup with Manchester City when he was 18. Bowyer is now 31 and the team he leads today shows just one change from the 11 which finished on the winning side at Coventry last Tuesday. At number 4, Bryn Gunn returns for the injured Chris Fairclough. Indeed, centre-back has been a jinx position for Forest this season with the retirement of Einar Ors and the current injury to Colin Todd. Spurs, on the other hand, have got their partnership of Graham Roberts and Paul Miller together again. It's the side which beat Arsenal 5-0 with Hoddle, Ardiles, Crooks and Price all in the reserves today, and even Steve Perryman, returning after suspension, can only make the substitutes position. And it's our first chance to see Alan Brazil in a Spurs shirt. He won a UEFA Cup winners' medal with Ipswich 2 years ago. Brian Clough on his way to his seat. He's never actually managed a team that's played in the UEFA Cup. Spurs in white start this match 2 points behind Nottingham Forest. So victory this afternoon on what's been a fairly good ground for Spurs down the years would put them in front of the side they face today. Forest beginning the match in 5th place, wearing the red shirts. Viv Anderson. That was Houghton going in with Mabbott. John Robertson. The signs are that Walsh will play on the left for Forest, the side he favours. That's him on the ball now. And John Robertson beginning the match more on the right. Back again to Walsh. Ken Swain is making the extra man down the left. Hodge is underneath it, and the header out was by Tony Galvin, giving Forest an early corner. Willie Young has gone forward. And Clement's not making it. Falco helping the ball out. Bowyer. Walsh. Header out was by Miller. And Hodge taking up the wide position on the right. Wallace and Davenport waiting in the centre. And offside. The referee this afternoon is Ray Guy from Merseyside. There's Houghton. Robertson in there with Mabbott. Here's Hodge. Walsh is free on the left, and the through ball to Davenport finds him offside. And Mabbutt's underneath it, and so is Brazil now. That was Young. A missed kick by Walsh. Oh dear me, it wasn't a very good ball from Archibald. Gave Miller no chance at all. And Forest now have got 5 players forward. Davenport. Archibald at least got the foot in to stop him. Nicely done by Anderson. Wallace. Davenport. Robertson. And they're trying to stay onside. And it's a fine ball out to Walsh by Robertson. And here's Davenport. It was Miller who got a foot in, and then Mabbutt. And little Gibson trying to find Falco. Flattened by Willie Young. So a free kick to Spurs. Roberts. Swain's header. Here's Gibson. It's a match which up to now has developed no real pattern on either side. Gunn and Walsh. Offside. And the crowd getting rather agitated by Tottenham's tactics. That linesman on the far side, Graham Roderick, with the yellow flag, has been kept fairly busy. He's right each time. There is an offside, but the slow hand clap going around the ground. There's one at the other end now, but the slow hand clap going around the City ground is the Forest fans' verdict on the way Spurs are playing in defence. Wallace. Walsh. O'Reilly. Gibson. And it's a fair ball, but just a yard ahead of Brazil. Gibson at least trying to get Spurs into a penetrating position, and Brazil was just short of latching onto that. Wallace. Oh, and Anderson making a good run. Davenport is the player in the centre for Forest. That's his touch! Brilliant goal! Viv Anderson made it quite superbly. He began the move back in his own territory and continued his run. Collected the ball in stride, sensed that Davenport was coming near post, and the touch by Davenport beating Clements and putting Nottingham Forest in front. And Davenport, who scored against Spurs in the corresponding fixture last season, gets the first goal today after 35 minutes. And prior to that, neither goalkeeper had been really troubled. It had been a scrappy and uneventful half, and then Davenport, with a superb touch, getting an elbow in the back for his pains, puts his side ahead. It's Walsh. Hodge is trying to make it on this side. Anderson will support the attack once more. Wallace. Anderson again. But it's nice to see Viv Anderson back in such confident mood. He was out for 3 months of the season after sustaining a nasty knee injury while training with the England party back in October. But he's made the first goal here, and his surges forward have been about the brightest thing in the first half. Walsh. Davenport. Walsh again. Swain now linking up. This is Galvin. Oh, good tackle by Hodge. 5 minutes left in the first half. Wallace for Forest. Again, they're trying to stay onside. Hodge. Robertson. Anderson is just behind him. Robertson's checking on that. Davenport. Hodge taking over nicely. And this is Bowyer. Oh, I say that's a beautiful shot. Ian Bowyer, the Forest captain, makes it 2-0. Good build-up again by Nottingham Forest. Robertson and Anderson really started it, but the ball was moved concisely. Hodge got involved, looked for the best option. Bowyer's shot, 2-0 after 41 minutes. 2-0 the score by which Forest won that game here last season against Spurs. Spurs 2 down again. Gibson now for them. Off Swain for a corner. So Viv Anderson involved in both goals. Forest scored 2 in the space of 6 minutes. O'Reilly. Here's Davenport. Shows a nice appreciation of the game when the ball's on the ground, the Forest number 9. Here's Walsh. Well, in that first half, it was Forest who made something out of nothing. It was a grim game until Brian Clough's team scored twice in the space of 6 minutes. The first goal coming from Peter Davenport, and the second well struck by Ian Bowyer. And the least said about Spurs' first half performance, the better. Forest are going for their 3rd win in a row here. The ball given away promptly by Robertson. Here's Brazil. And this comes after a run of 9 matches in the league without winning for Forest. Here's Houghton. Anderson. Well, he's continuing where he left off in the first half. Getting forward to good effect and finding Davenport, who's turned away quite nicely. Wallace following up, and so too is Hodge here. Davenport couldn't get a foot in ahead of Mabbott, but here's Bowyer. Could so easily have been 3 there for Forest, and again Anderson would have been the provider. Instead, here's Galvin to Gibson. Brazil is up. Here's Falco. And the goalkeeper not doing terribly well. Van Breukelen perhaps would have hoped to hold that, but he needed the help of Bryn Gunn. And this time, no mistake at all from the Dutch keeper, who, to give him credit, has settled down very well in English football this season. Survived a serious knee injury and come back to play with some presence. Hans Van Breukelen. Header was by Walsh to Wallace, and he got charged in the back by Graham Roberts. Robertson bringing Anderson into the game again. Hodge is out right. Took the ball over the line, did he? Well, the referee seems to think Houghton got the last touch. It's a corner. Hodge, Anderson, and again Young stays forward. Wallace, help from Davenport. Swain, oh, that's a good ball. A really fine pass to Walsh. Three waiting in the centre. Swain again. And now he feeds the other flank. This is Robertson. Anderson. Checked a little bit, was he? By Archibald. Well, it's Galvin who's trying to find a way out of that corner. Forward by O'Reilly, and Brazil is in here and scores off the post. His second goal for Spurs. Long ball pumped forward by Gary O'Reilly. It caught Willie Young, rather. Brazil got goal side of him, and on his weaker foot, the right, he steered the ball wide of Van Breukelen, in off the far post. And Spurs are back in the match after 56 minutes. Their first clean scoring opportunity. And Davenport beaten by Houghton. Robertson, not quite what he intended, but the ball moved on. Davenport caught one on the leg there from Graham Roberts, and the Spurs captain has his name taken. Definitely clipped Peter Davenport after the ball had gone. Spurs actually haven't got the proudest disciplinary record this season. Two players on the pitch today, Galvin and Falco, will shortly serve periods of suspension, and Roberts, one of those players who from time to time has been in trouble himself. Here's Anderson. Well, the little challenge there was Houghton and Hodge, and the game suddenly turning rather sour. Steve Hodge goes into the referee's book within a minute of Graham Roberts having his name taken. So the England under-21 international is cautioned. And he was sent off earlier this season as well. Archibald. Oh, O'Reilly taking Walsh very high, and the referee is going to book Gary O'Reilly. The Spurs players appealing that that was an intentional bid for the ball when he first set out, and that maybe Walsh made rather a lot of the fall. Certainly winded. So we've had three players booked here in 3 minutes. Two for Spurs and one for Forest. Gibson, and Brazil is through again against Gunn. this match has changed completely. He thought that was a corner. The referee gave a go kick initially, but then checked with his linesman and was big enough to change his mind. It's a corner to Spurs. And O'Reilly gets up. Mabbott! 2-2. And Gary Mabbott, once again, a thorn in the side of Nottingham Forest. He scored twice against them at White Hart Lane back in September, and he struck that one with venom and accuracy. Forest failed to clear the corner properly. Mabbott drove it hard and true, and Spurs are level after 64 minutes. So having conceded 2 in 6 minutes in the first half, Spurs scored 2 in 8 minutes in the second. And there's a danger now that the match is going to get out of hand, because the referee, in that little spell prior to the second Tottenham goal, booked 3 players, and the tackles are flying rather, and the reaction sometimes exaggerated. Anybody's match now. That's O'Reilly again, and he's already had his name taken, and he caught Colin Walsh. Now this is where the referee is in something of a dilemma. However serious the offence may or may not have been, it was his second. Not a malicious player, Gary O'Reilly, and the referee's discretion, despite the boos of the Forest supporters, possibly seemed to be the right thing. O'Reilly. Brazil. And it was Young with the tackle on Brazil. And words were exchanged there between the 2 players. And Tottenham, I don't think, will want O'Reilly to stay on, because he has been in trouble with the referee. That may be a wise substitution by Keith Birkinshaw and Peter Shreves, just to keep him out of trouble. And Steve Perryman, the more regular right-back, is coming on for Spurs with 9 minutes to go. Having had Perryman himself and Galvin sent off in their last 2 away games, Spurs don't want O'Reilly to suffer the same fate, and they've pulled him out of the action. Brazil. Foul against him. Perryman gets involved in the action. Galvin. Miller. And if Brazil can kill this, he has. Took it down brilliantly, Alan Brazil. It's funny that he's one of the best finishers in the business normally, and seemed to have done the hardest part. The way he killed that ball from Paul Miller was excellent. Took it in his stride and threw off the defender, but for once, the shot was high and wide. There's Falco. Corner given, and Spurs to the last here, looking the more likely scorers, the more likely takers of the extra 2 points at stake. How the game has turned. But in the end, the points are shared. Spurs 2 down at half-time, making a good recovery. Brian Clough's team losing that 2-goal lead. Alan Brazil putting Tottenham back in the game. And Gary Mabbott, who had not scored in the last 15 Spurs matches in which he's played, striking the equaliser. And so the 2 teams pushing for a European place finished today level, with a final score of Nottingham Forest 2, Tottenham Hotspur 2.
Well, the men who could most influence next Saturday's FA Cup semi-finals could well be the physiotherapists, because they face a crucial week at all four clubs. Sheffield Wednesday are definitely without fullback Ian Bailey, who fractured his left leg yesterday, and skipper Mick Lyons, Gary Megson and David Mills are all under treatment. Now, Lyons is the biggest out with a groin injury, and it'll be at least Friday before they know if he'll be fit. Jack Charlton, the Wednesday manager, says it's very unsettling in semi-final week, and the loss of Lyons' experience would be a major blow. Their opponents, Brighton, are already without defender Chris Ramsey, who's under suspension, and now Jerry Ryan, who you saw limp off during yesterday's defeat against Everton, may also be missing. He's under intensive treatment for a hamstring injury, and that will probably continue right up to Saturday. Arsenal's sick list continues to grow as they prepare to meet Manchester United at Villa Park. Alan Sunderland is their main problem after he injured a groin in training on Friday, and now Peter Nicholas is another casualty after he came off with a knee injury during the win over Coventry yesterday. Goalkeeper Pat Jennings, who's missed the last 5 games, and David O'Leary, who injured an ankle on Easter Monday, are also still far from certain to make the semi-final. United, meanwhile, are a little better off, although they too have their problems. Steve Coppell's knee injury, which he suffered on Easter Monday, hasn't responded to treatment as he'd hoped, and he's a doubt, although he should play, while Kevin Moran is still under treatment for the ankle injury, which has kept him out since the Milk Cup final a fortnight ago. A late decision expected on him, but at least Brian Robson made a successful return for United yesterday. Well, still with injuries, there's apparently some concern about the future of Brendan Batson, the West Bromwich Albion fullback, who's now been out of the game since October the 30th with a knee injury. He had a cartilage operation and should have been playing again within 6 to 8 weeks. Instead, he still hasn't played after nearly 6 months. I am worried, he said, because the knee has shown no signs of improvement for several months. Well, Middlesbrough's Kevin Beattie, the man who knows more about injuries than anyone in the game's history, I would think, is out for the rest of the season. He's already retired from football once with knee trouble at Ipswich, but now it's a groin injury that's plagued his comeback at Middlesbrough. He came on as substitute yesterday to play for the first time since February, but the groin went again, and so that's it, I'm afraid, until next season. Some people have all the luck, don't they? Well, still in the second division, Fulham, Leicester and Leeds are shaping up for a real set too in the closing weeks to see who joins those apparent certainties, Queen's Park Rangers and Wolves, in the first division next season. And Fulham have to go to Leeds on Saturday. The big game yesterday, though, was at Loftus Road, where Leicester desperately needed at least a point at the leaders, Queen's Park Rangers. But they didn't look like getting it when John Gregory headed Rangers in front seconds before half-time. Well, just 4 minutes after the players returned, it was 2-0. Tony Seeley, the scorer. But then stepped forward Leicester's leading scorer, Gary Lineker. Alan Smith and Ian Wilson gave him chance number 1. Then, 7 minutes from time, it was Lineker's persistence that gave Leicester the point. Lineker, his 24th goal of the season. So, to all, one game played this afternoon, League Division 4, Northampton 3, Halifax 1. Northampton started the day 5th from bottom of Division 4. They'll improve on that. Well, in Scotland, the team of the week, Aberdeen, who won 5-1 in the Cup Winners' Cup on Wednesday, had a real letdown at Rangers. They needed to win to keep the pressure on Celtic and Dundee United, but win they didn't. Archie McPherson is the commentator.
That's Weir, a lot of curl in it. McLeish, it's in, 1-0. It didn't look as if the ball was going in. Eventually it seemed to droop and was very lazy, but in it went, off the head of Alec McLeish, and they're 1-up. What's a good-looking ball? Is a brilliant goal by Redford. The equaliser. A superb pass there. Oh, he took that very well indeed. Strachan, McGee, brilliant running. Oh, what a chance is Strachan, brilliantly swept away. That was McGee almost scoring one of the goals of the season. The way he crouches over the ball almost and gets past players And suddenly that intervention deprives him of what would have been a quite majestic goal. Round it goes towards Clark. And he lobs it in. There's Bett. It's gone in. 2-1.
Well, that's all for today. 5 Saturdays, that's in the league, of the season to go. Lots of jubilation and disappointment still to come, and plenty of issues still to be decided. One of them, the FA Cup finalists. And in our programme next Sunday, you'll see one of the